Alright, today we're going to be mixing a track that I made in my previous video that I'm going to show you up here, that you can go watch and see how I made this beat. But today I'm going to be mixing this track, which is the next step after I've done producing the track itself. So I'm going to start by mixing drums, which is something that I do before I start to mix all the instruments. I start by mixing my drums so that I can get my drums in a really nice place, because you know house music is all about the drums, and the drums should hit and they should be balanced well. So that's what I usually start with, and then I go to everything else around the drums, because the drums are the backbone of the beat. Okay, so let's get into it, right? So this is where the beat is right now. So it's sounding really good. It's a nice composition. I'm happy with the beat, but the drums still need a bit more work. So what I like to do is I like to solo the drums. So I'm just going to solo the drums in the arrangement itself. So I know that that is drums. And another thing that is also drums for me is like vocal sounds. Like you can see there's a Afro vocal sound here. That sound there, for me, I mix it as a drum itself so that I could just mix them, because for me it's a sample, it's just like drums, so I keep it there. And then I also have some cymbal here. So that's the drums on their own, and now I'm gonna go to the channel rack and make sure that all the drums are routed to the mixer. So I can see here my kick and my other percussion sounds are not routed to the mixer, so I'm just gonna select all of them. And also this tom is also not sent there, and I have the snare as well that is also not sent to the mixer. And I'm just gonna also select a few other stuff that are not sent to the mixer, and then I'm just gonna press Command L, and then it's gonna send everything to the mixer, as you can see right here. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna move this charter sound, because I'm sure that is not a drum sound. So I'm just gonna move it to the left so that it is with other sounds, as you can see right here. And then now if I play the sounds back, my drums are over here from the perfect kick going up to Afro snare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select an extra channel here on the mixer, and I'm just going to come here and I'm going to select track routing, and then I'm going to create a sub mix. So now I'm going to create a sub mix, and then I'm going to come in here and just label it drums like that. So now all my drums are being routed to one mixer track. So if I turn this one off and then I play the track, so you can see all the stuff that I had selected are not playing, but I did miss a couple of other sounds here that I also just want to pick out, and now all of them are being routed to the drum master. So you can see if I play it back, no drums are playing at all, but you can see the music is playing here. So even if I do that, now all you're just getting are the synths and every other sound, right? So now that's what we're getting right here. So now what I can do with all this stuff is now I can just bring back the drums, and I can actually solo just the drums alone like this. So now after all that being done, now I know that all my drums are mixed well together. So now what I can do is I can start mixing my drums. So the one thing that I like to do when I start mixing my drums is work on the kick first, because it's the loudest thing. So what I can do is I can actually turn the faders of everything else down. Like I can even just select all of these like that up until the last one, and I can just turn them down like this, and then I can just raise them up as I see fit. So most people get the misconception that when you're mixing, you just have to always worry about the effects, like the compression, the saturation, the EQ, and all of that. But for me, when I mix, I like to work on the levels before I even get to the effects. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to work on the levels of each and every track so that the drums sound nice just by moving faders only. So I like where this kick is. Now I'm going to bring up the other sound. I like where that sound is now, so let me bring up the second one. I like what that sound is. Now to the next. I'm just gonna pan this sound to the right a little bit. And this sound here to the left. I really want my tom to be nice and loud, so I'm going to raise it up a little bit higher than all the other sounds. Because it's given a really nice groove, so I want it much more louder than the other sounds. And that snare I also really wanted to hit, and what I like to also do with these kinds of snares is I also like to add some compression to them. So I can add a compressor right here, drop the threshold, and raise my ratio up. I think that sounds pretty good. I can just drop my threshold down a little bit more like that, and that's good enough. And now to start bringing up the Afro loop. And when it comes to loops like these, I also just want to load up an EQ so I can check out the frequencies. I'm just going to turn down some of the mid-range right there and maybe raise up a little bit of the high frequencies and turn down the bass to low mids. Because I also have some other percussions that I want to stand out in these frequencies here, while also leaving a little bit of the high frequency so that it has a little bit of a sizzle. The sound effects sounds really nice there. I think that sounds good, and now let's hear all of these drums with the They sound really good, right? They sound really good. And the next thing that I also like to do is add some parallel compression or parallel processing to the drums themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this drum group that I created here is not going straight to the master alone, but it's also going to go to another free like a mixer track. So I'm going to select this extra mixer track here, and then I'm just going to rename it. I'm going to rename it to drums. I'm gonna rename it to drums PR, drums processing, and then I'm gonna add a different color to it. So I'm just gonna unlock more colors here, and I'm gonna pick, let's just pick this loud pinkish so that I can, you know, I can see it. And what I can also do is I can also just dock it to the right here. And now I'm gonna go back to the drums master, and then I'm just gonna make sure that I send it to this parallel processing right here, and I can turn the processing all the way down. And what I can do here by this processing is I can start to add effects. So what this does is that it allows you to add a little bit of effects. So what I can do is I can load up this destructor right here, right, and then I can go into some of the presets, and I can maybe turn on, let's say, the stereo fuzz right here, right. I can just load that up, for example, and then I can play the drums. Did you hear what this extra channel just did to the drums? It added some really nice texture to the drums. So I'm gonna play without this processing effect on, and then I'm gonna play it with. So just listen to this. So that's without, and now with. So the goal with this is to also just find a certain level where you're not adding too much of this effect. So if I do this and I raise it up too high, that doesn't sound good at all. So you want to make sure that it's nice and low at a really comfortable place. And you can also add an EQ after this, like this EQ. And I can turn down the high frequencies and also a little bit of the low frequencies, because I want my kick and my bass to be nice and powerful and also be clean. But I don't mind having a lot of harmonics right here in the mid-range to high mids. And after that, I can come back to my drums master and I can load up a multi-band compressor here. And what I can do right here is I can load up maybe a general purpose preset. So this is without. You can hear that the drums sound weak, but if I add this, they got a little bit more body and more punch to them, right? So, and that's what we want with our drums. After that, you can also even add like a fruity fast distortion right here, and I can, you hear it sounds horrible, and I can just play around with the mix. So I've done all of this with just stock plugins, so try this out. This is how you can make your drums really hit. And if you want to really add some really professional mixing to your drums, and obviously you have to mix everything to taste like how you want it, how you like it, but this is what I usually do with my drums. This is the process, but it can also change depending with what I'm feeling with the track, but this is just basically how I usually mix my drums. And if you want any of these drums that I was playing in this track, you must check the links down below so that you can also use the same drums that I use so you can make some fire beats. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in my next video. I'm X and I'm out. Peace.